This is a good learning lesson for those of you that don't have an e-commerce specific bookkeeper or accountant
Yes,
or fractional
totally.
CFO, person you can rely on, because this doesn't happen only with VAT. This happens with a number of shopping cart systems and payment processing systems, because they're batching stuff through their payment gateways, and sometimes reserves get held, and then reserves aren't accounted for properly. A lot of merchants aren't counting reserves as sales. They hold that aside because they don't want to get taxed on money they haven't received. But if you're doing accrual accounting and you follow the IRS's guidelines, you have to account for those reserves as sales. And be taxed on it. I have a personal friend that got audited by the IRS, and the rules are quite. I'd still argue about this with all sorts of people, but at least what this individual encountered was he got audited. It cost him a couple $100,000 because he wasn't properly accounting all of his revenue, his sales revenue, as sales revenue, even though 10% or 5% or whatever it was being held in a reserve account at the payment processor level. This is off Amazon sales. So this stuff gets really tricky, and it's really easy to make an assumption and go with that. And then when you get into due diligence in the transaction, that I can totally see how easy that would be to miss
Yes.
until the last minute.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And I think no matter what deal you do, I think every seller in the diligence process is going to find out that they were making more money or less money than they thought they were. Just because there's as you're saying, there's so much that goes into the flows of these businesses. And as you know, most people that we're working with are one or two people that can't be or don't want to be as in depth on various accounting details. And so, you're focused on growing your business, you're focused on a high level strategy. And some of this stuff is going to come through. And that's, again, where you need to just make sure that buyer and seller are building rapport and a trusting relationship where it's not like a game of gotcha. It's mostly like, let's just make sure we're looking at the facts in a way that is coherent and makes sense.
Absolutely. Nate, that is a great war story, a really big mine for people to avoid stepping
Yes.
on. So
Ask about that.
Yes, ask about VAT, ask about reserves, like follow the money trail.
Yes.
From wherever when it leaves the consumer's credit card, every entity you've got access to that it touches, look at it, get that transaction report, because man,
Totally.
it's money just disappears, into fees and
Yes.
reserve accounts and tax accounts and other stuff, and that all has to be accounted for.
Totally.
Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications about new videos and interviews. And introduce yourself in the comments. Are you a buyer or a seller?